The 6th year of implementation of the Colombian Final Accord was marked by a new political phase for the country. The new Colombian presidential administration, Congress, and the new leadership for the Accord's implementing agencies have a solid foundation to continue on the path towards building a stable and lasting peace. Likewise, new social platforms emerged, like the initiation of dialogues to achieve total peace, a new policy proposed by President Gustavo Petro, which must be guided by the principles of the Final Accord and aligned with the commitments being implemented. The Kroc Institute presents the current state of implementation in its 7th comprehensive report, 6 years of implementation of the Colombian Final Accord, challenges and opportunities in the new political phase. The report analyzes the period between December 2021 to November 2022 and includes both quantitative and qualitative analysis of the implementation of all 578 stipulations within the text of the agreement. The overall status of implementation shows that, as of November 2022, 31% of the provisions were completed, 20% were at an intermediate level of implementation, 37% were at a minimum level, and 13% were uninitiated. During this period, the main challenge to implementation was the low percentage of commitments at an intermediate level of implementation, and the high percentages of commitments at minimum and uninitiated levels. This perspective shows that there are pending actions required for the Final Accord to be fully implemented within the 15-year timeline as outlined in the Framework Plan for Implementation, called the PMI. The points of the Accord with lower levels of implementation, such as Point 1 and Point 2, have registered an increase of 3 and 2 percentage points, respectively, in the number of commitments at an intermediate level of implementation, with no change in the number of completed provisions. The points with the highest level of implementation, such as Point 3 and Point 6, are also those that recorded the lowest levels of coding changes during the analysis period. The report shows progress in Point 1 on comprehensive rural reform due to the approval of 4 national plans that focus on the right to food, technical assistance to the productive capacities of the campesino economy, and access to land. Progress was made through the prioritization of 13,458 initiatives within the development programs with territorial focus, which total about 41% of the initiative desired by communities. However, there are still concerns about the effective participation of local communities in the entire PEDET project cycle. In Point 2, a couple milestones for achieving further democratization in Colombia occurred, including the installation of new voting stations, the election of 16 representatives for the special transitory peace voting districts, and the adoption of the public policy for reconciliation, coexistence, and non-stigmatization. In Point 5, the Commission for the Clarification of Truth, Coexistence, and Non-Repetition delivered its final report, and the Special Jurisdiction for Peace issued its first resolution of conclusions. The verification and international accompaniment components of Point 6 in the Final Accord have also made progress during the reporting period. Among the challenges identified by the report, security in the country continues to be a major cause for concern, as well as the continuing violence against social leaders, human rights defenders, and peace signatories. Commitments on the substitution of illicit crops are at risk of not being completed on schedule, as the long-term livelihood projects component of the National Comprehensive Program for the substitution of crops used for illicit purposes continues at minimal levels of implementation. The Commission for the Follow-up, Promotion, and Verification of the Implementation of the Final Agreement, CICIV, did not make progress in establishing the parameters for the annual review of the PMI. In addition, the necessary legislation to coordinate the PMI with the territorial development plans has not been adopted. As recorded in previous years, there is still a gap between the implementation of the ethnic and gender approaches and the general implementation of the final accord. While the overall implementation of the final accord has completed 31% of commitments, the gender approach has only reached 12%, while the ethnic approach has reached 13%. The report also includes comparative analysis findings that are relevant for the Colombian government's quest for total peace. By analyzing other similar international contexts, the Kroc Institute identified lines of action for the implementation of the final accord that could promote and attract armed actors to a successful negotiation. These action items include: ensure effective participation of the signatories of the final accord in all instances of implementation and achieve the functioning of the CICIV. Ensure a solid and comprehensive reincorporation process. Guarantee full access to land. Guarantee legal security for ex-combatants in the reincorporation process. To strengthen implementation of the accord, the Kroc Institute highlights opportunities within each point and transversal approach, as well as in overall implementation. In particular, the CICIV can contribute to the strengthening of implementation through the establishment of parameters for the annual review of the PMI. The Office of the High Commissioner for Peace and the Unit for the Implementation of the Final Accord can define an action plan to activate the mandate of the bodies and programs of the Final Accord to contribute to the objectives of the Total Peace Policy. The pending regulations for the implementation of the Final Accord continue to be a cause for concern, which is why the report highlights the opportunity for Congress to define and advance the Accord's legislative agenda. The international community can also contribute significantly to the momentum of implementation by continuing to support the Final Accord and Colombia's quest for peace through political, technical, and financial support. In the midst of an environment of political change, the sustainability of the completed commitments and the already established strong foundation for implementation will support the remaining transformations proposed by the final accord. However, it is essential that those responsible for implementation turn their attention to the commitments that are lagging behind, which must be pushed forward in order to achieve the fulfillment of what has been agreed upon within the foreseen timeframe. As the official monitor of implementation, the Kroc Institute presents the 7th comprehensive report with the sincere commitment to contribute to peace building in Colombia.